Alrighty, guys. So it is 3:30. Time to wrap it up for today. And so we had a little bit of hullabaloo here at the very end. This little rundown here. I think some news event came out about the Revolutionary Guard going to set every tanker on fire, trying to navigate through the Strait of Hormuz. So that's a threat. And the oil is up, market down, knee-jerk reactions to it. It's probably a little bit too early to say if that is for real or not, but I would say that right now it's probably a pretty good chance that they can probably pull it off, but give them a few more days and these guys are going to be toast. So right now, though, I mean, we'll see how the market reacts. I mean, oil can, as I said, we can be pretty spotty when the market reacts to some external news. Now, there's not the U.S. supply of oil is just secure, and there's no real issue with oil supplies. It's the guys are getting most of the oil through the Strait of Hormuz is China, so uh, it's I think it may be an overreaction, but oil is going to do what it's going to do. Once they can clear the rest of these people trying to shoot everything or shoot at everything, then that's going to be calming down a bit. But right now we're like a day and a half into this, and it's still going to be very much up in the air. So they're looking at maybe up to 4 weeks of action before they completed their mission. So we'll see. Right now, though, the market has been surprisingly strong, I have to say. It's a little bit slop here. They've been pretty whippy, though. So it has been hard to stick with trades. I've taken a few, but I've been just pretty much been knocked out of them. So I haven't done much more than that. But and as I said this morning, I was going to take it with a grain of salt and kind of look at it. But the fact that these guys, there was not even an attempt to sell off today. It was just overnight action, and then they took out the resistance areas, traded up above that 68.55s, and that was it. I've been holding above it. I've been a little bit of strength here after the 6900, backing off a little bit. But as long as they hold these two support areas, and I would key in on the 40s maybe. That would be the lower edge of it. If they can hold that level, I think they're in good shape. Even if they trade down to the 30s, could be okay. So it's uh, the 30s and 40s here. If those two support area holds, I mean, I think we're in good shape to just stay range bound at least and see how this whole thing plays out. Now the volatility is still there. It's going to be definitely depending on what headlines comes out, volatility back and forth, But in the overall picture, I think the market is just as it usually does. The wars doesn't really impact the market a whole lot, impact commodities and stuff like that. But the market usually has a knee-jerk reaction, comes back, and then we'll see. Well, if it doesn't look like it's going to be a lot of fallout, at least a protracted in terms of a protracted war, then I think the market just kind of stays where it's at. Then this goes back to looking at the news events and stuff like that. You can see here we are right back here to value. So this rundown here and the overnight, surprisingly strong market given the kind of action we are getting and the kind of potential for damage we've seen. Now, anything can change. So I mean, I would just say that we just take it with a grain of salt. Watch these support areas, especially on the downside, because that's where the risk lies. I mean, if the market rallies, that would be because everything is done. That would be good. But I would say that initially, right now, the risk is to the downside. Watch the 30s and the 40s on the ES, and then take it from there. Now, I had two trades on the ES. The last one was over here. That was a long trade. That's a little rundown. They ran it lower. Looks like we're heading higher. I got in on the trade. And I moved this fairly aggressively up. They were trading higher a little bit. It doesn't look like much on this, but they were getting close to a break-even trade. But I kind of moved my stop a little bit more aggressively, and then they kind of knocked it down and then drifted lower, and then they took off. So I was a little bit early on that one, but and I kind of missed this whole thing because I figured like it's just too sloppy, so I'm not going to be super aggressive on it. But I was thinking long side of the market, see if they can run it higher, and kind of missed the big run, but at least the thought was correct. On the Nasdaq, I had three trades, and all of them got shaken out. So it was like, yeah, okay, stopping now. There's no point of when he does that the follow through is sloppy, then they just have to take it with a grain of salt. If you overtrade it and try to get in, eventually they'll catch you and you'll get in a loser, and then you can spiral out of control. So I've been very particular because I have a tendency of looking for too many trades and a trade where it's not a trade, kind of second guess the market, kind of stuff, and it always freaking bites me in the butt. So trying to be really patient about finding trade location, finding the setup, and then trying to take those trades, which I talk about all the time. Sometimes I kind of skirt them myself and take a little bit too aggressive trades. And the biggest culprit is really you're looking for a trend start. So you're looking at something starts moving in a direction, trying to hop on that direction. But if you're in a sloppy market and you're in the middle of range between levels, you don't really have it's like a crapshoot. You get on it sometimes, you don't sometimes, and most of the time when you're winning, you're not getting enough to cover the times you're losing. So that is the issue. So time to be a little bit more patient. But so far, not much to show for today. Like $9 in the ES, 250 on the 250 on the ES, and $9 on the Nasdaq, and that's about it. Nasdaq also pretty good shape. Also pretty strong day on the Nasdaq. And I had to say, given the potential for weakness today, we have a pretty good market. So I would think that the market is pricing in this as being a pretty quick event. There's not going to be a lot of fallout, and it's just going to be getting through the motions. And I think the biggest potential sacrifice or issue here is going to be oil and oil prices in the short term. But as you can tell, even given so this is oil right now, right? So this is the F2 on oil. And as you can tell, the day session hasn't been too crazy, right? Been up at 72 now, given that last news. They've been down here at the 70s. They gapped up from the high from Friday was down here at the 67s. So it's like $3-4 higher. Now, if this was the old style, and I had to say the Biden administration methodology where you had to buy everything from foreign sources and plan on solar and wind here at home, this oil price change would have been more like 80 or 90 or higher. So the fact that we have a supply of oil ourselves and we're getting oil from right now Venezuela as well, is just muting the effects on global oil. So there's oil being exported at quite a clip, and the impact of this is just not as it could have been. So that's a good sign. But so starting off the overnight, just range bound. We're going to sell strength up to the on the ES 6905, 6915. Looking to sell strength on the Nasdaq up to the 25,080s and the 21,120s. Looking to buy weakness with a bit a lot more caution against the lower areas on the ES. I would look at the 68, 70s, 55s, 45s, and the let's see here. Yeah, 30s. So I would say 30s, 45s. Below the 30s, I would start thinking shorts are at the market again. But these three support areas, definitely looking for buying opportunity against them. And on the Nasdaq, those levels would be down here at the 840s, the 790 to 800s for rotations up again. So that's kind of where we start off. Range bound trading. Let's see how this shakes out. Market is in a wait and see mode. Any headlines can whip it around, so be mindful. The bond market is moving lower, with yields coming up a bit. I wasn't sure kind of what it's going to do, but we had a pretty good move to the downside, and they've been drifting lower. Not a huge move, but big enough. So early on this morning, as you can see, they retraced it pretty good a couple of times. So after that news, you had an opportunity to try to get short. I wasn't looking. I was thinking more buying opportunity down here, but as you can see, there was not going to develop, and I wasn't going to be super aggressive in none of this setup the way I usually want to see it. And after it died off over here, yeah, you see the setup, but it's not quite what they're looking for. The just market just died, and that's the difference, right? Down here, if they had one more bar down here at the 07s, it's stalling one there, that would have been more of a, yeah, let's try to take that trade. That would have been at support, a failure to take it lower, like 4 bars just not extending. Yeah, that would have been a good buying opportunity, but it was a little bit too quick, a little bit too quick. So that's it. Back to the ES and the Nasdaq, and that's how we get started. Range bound trading. Let's see how the news. Yes, keep the news on, watch it, because as soon as you get that one of those headlines come out, we'll see market reaction, and then just kind of sit on the sidelines and wait for it to calm down a bit before you start moving again. All right, guys, we leave it there. I'll see you back at bright and early tomorrow. We'll go at this again. All right, guys, later.